We are live on YouTube. So we got a question from Akshay. Are we late? Yes, we are running late. So I was doing some configuration, so I got late by 5 minutes. Oh, 6 minutes. 6 minutes. So we got 4 people watching now. Okay, so we'll start this session with some questions. So I got a question from Ayush. Ayush says, why algorithms are important? Okay, so algorithms are important because when you make a project, it's not just about coding, right? You have to solve a real world problem using a virtual world technology. Example, let's say when you go to, when you search for a cab or using Uber or using maybe Ola, so what you do is you search for the location, right? It tracks you for the location, and it may happen that in your area, I mean, in the particular area where you're searching for a cab, there might be multiple cabs, right? So which cab will be notified when you are there? So it's not that simple as you think. There's lots of processing going on behind the scene. So we have to make sure. I mean, they use an algorithm using which they actually process the data, right? So algorithms is used to assign a cab to you. If you're going to Google and if you are searching for some data, and if you're getting a data, like example, when you go to YouTube, example, let me just show you a demonstration here. Let me share my screen with you. Uh, okay. So I'm showing my screen now, and let me open a browser here. So I will open, okay, I will use maybe Firefox. Okay, I will use this Firefox here. Okay, if you ever go to YouTube and if you search for some videos, maybe if you, okay, it's taking some time to load here. Okay. Okay, you can see it says live project session 7. 30 people are watching. You can also watch it. Okay, but then if you search for Java tutorials for beginners, so you're getting my as a second link, right? So you can see on, so we have thousands of YouTube channel. And why you're getting my channel there? Because YouTube is running an algorithm, and using that algorithm, so they think that people searching in this area or with that interest will see my video here. Now, if you search for the same thing on YouTube, you may get a different results, right? You will get third, fourth, or first maybe. And if I search for Scala, again, you can see this, mine is, oh, you can see my video, I can't see, yeah, this is here, right, fifth. But if I search for Scala tutorial, so it's not that simple, If I search for Scala tutorial, you can see mine is second now. So as data changes, as request changes, so it does some algorithm, it does some processing, right? And to define that, we have to write an algorithm. So that algorithm will be converted into a code afterwards. So it's very important to learn algorithms first, okay? So if you want to be a good programmer, knowing the concept of algorithm is very important. You got the concept. Okay, so I'm average student. How should I? Okay, so we got a question from Vamsi as well. I'm third year completed and I'm average student. Okay, how can I learn good programming knowledge? So the way you can see when you talk about programming, it's not just about learning a language. It's also about implementing it in such a way that people will use your softwares. We are forgetting one thing. Programming doesn't have its own identity as such. If you don't want to make a software, of course, you will not use a programming language, right? I mean, for normal communication, we don't use programming, right? You don't talk to anyone using Java language. So the only reason why we use programming is to make softwares, right? So I would recommend you to learn. You have to make a software, right? So. Okay, that's the idea we have. So that's it. We'll continue with the thing now. Okay, so actually we are studying Java language now. So, okay, let's get back here. Let's continue with the project. And if you don't know what's going on, so basically we are doing a live project here where I'm redesigning my entire website live with you people. Okay, so we got this thing here. We got this save question. Okay, last time what we did is, before doing this, we'll share, let me share my code. So I will go here and Okay, where is Camstasia? Let me just write the recording as well. Okay, now all these videos which you are watching now will be available on YouTube in a good quality. So if you're watching this on Hangout, you might get a bad quality there. But then if you want to watch this in a good quality, we can use okay, what we can use. So I'm uploading a good quality video, you can watch them later. So 3, 2, and 1. In fact, I have uploaded 4 videos on YouTube. The last 4 sessions. I mean, okay, the first 2 videos of this session was just theory videos. Session 3, 4, 5, and 6 are uploaded on YouTube in a good quality with the name Java Web Development. Session 1, 2, and 3, and goes on. Okay. Okay. So let's continue with this now. So what we wanted to do is in the last video we were discussing about questions, right? So I want to create a test module now. So in the test module, what should happen is when first of all I want to add some questions, and then I will also want to fetch those questions. So when you want to add questions, in that case, if you want to add questions here, so in that case what you have to do is you have to. So I've created a JSP page here, as you can see. Let me just run. Okay, come in this part. Let's run this code to understand what actually I want to do here. So if I run this code now, in fact, it is already running, I guess. It is running state. Let me just restart the server. Let's run this code once again. I will right click, run as run on server. Okay, and Karthik, I got your question. I got your mail about what features I need in my test page. So basically, in the test page, what I'm expecting is okay, let me just show you my website, what exactly I want in a design. So when you go to telusko.com, and if you click on test, okay, it's taking some time to load. Okay, if I go to test and if I click on without login test, so you can see, let's say, and if you only focus on questions or the exam system or the design, you are getting all these questions. So in total, this test will be getting 5 questions. This 5 questions you will be getting from the server. So I'll be getting a Java code which will generate 5 random questions, and you will get those random questions in a JSON format. So the format in which you will get the data is JSON. So what I want is, so see, we have a database, right? So database will be on server, and we have to write a Java code. And using Java code, we will return those 5 questions in JSON format. In your design, you have to read those JSON format. And example, if I give answers here, so if I say 1 next, and if I say this is next, and if I say this is next, and if I say this is next, so I can see I'm giving 5. Oh, okay. So if I say end question, so we got. Okay, we got the result page, right? So we got this result page because okay. So what is happening is we got those 5 questions, and then once I complete the exam, you can see I'm sending the JSON format on the server back. So on the server side, it will receive this JSON format, and the server will calculate this score, and that score will be displayed here. Make sense? Okay. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay. So this is what I want, Karthik. So the questions will be coming from the server in a JSON format. I want you to read that JSON, show it on the page, and then when you click on submit, that question should go in a JSON format on the server. So the question should go in a JSON format. Okay, so I will process the data. Perfect. So I'm expecting this page. So whenever you get a time, just do send the design so that we can do some modification there. Okay, great. So let me just go back to the Spring here. And so what I want now is I want to add a question. So in yesterday's session, which is actually private, so the same session 7 we already did last day, I mean yesterday, but then there was some issues. I was not feeling good about yesterday's session, so I just closed the session in between. But now I'm confident, so let's go with it. I'm feeling much comfortable today because taking online session is it's actually very headache. It's a big task. So okay, so what we have done is we have created this design which is for questions, and again I'm using the same feedback form for design questions. I mean the question page design, and you can see if I run this code. Let me just run this code. Okay, when I request for question.htm, let's just go to my browser. Okay, so when I request for question.htm, this is the link. Okay, again, this should be provided using hyperlinks, but then we have not made the homepage yet, so I'm using all these links here. So again, the CSS is still not working. We are still figuring out how to put CSS in this. We have not done that yet. Okay, so let's enter a question. Let's say if I want to add a new question, right? So if I will add all the questions here, because see, in my database I need questions, right? And I don't have much question. We don't have much questions here in the database. So if I verify how many questions I have, so I have a local database as well. The database name is Naveen. If I say question and if I say view all rows, you can see this many questions I have in my system. I have all this extra questions here which we don't need. Okay, let's delete this all these questions here. So what I will do is to delete that, we have to fire a query. So for that, I will use a tool. Okay, where's the query tool for pgMyAdmin? Okay, where's the pg? Is it pgMyAdmin? Okay, tools, yeah. So we got a query tool. I will delete all the questions from which has the ID as 0. So I will say, okay, my intern was looking at me when I said delete all the questions. So it's a delete from question where QID is equal to 0. So I want to delete all the question. Let's run this code. Okay, of course, when I want to delete, oh, it says 29 rows affected. Has it deleted all the codes, all the questions? I don't know. Let's see. So if I say view all data, don't tell me if I deleted all the questions here. My interns will kill me. Okay, we got some questions. Okay, and I also want to delete this 3, but then that's fine, right? So we can use all these questions which is made here. So this is the local database I have. Approximately I have 10 questions. Okay, so what I do is I want to add more questions, and the way you can do that, if I want to add more questions, I need a page, right? So this is the page which is add question. Of course, the design will be better in future. So if you want to help in design, do send me designs. Okay, so I'm entering a test question, so I'm asking for the question ID. I will enter the question ID as 11 because 10 is already there, right? So 10 is already there. Let's go for 11, and let me enter the question. Best YouTube channel for Java. Okay, I will give some options. I will say ABC, PQR. I don't want to promote any other channel here, so that's why I'm going for my dummy names here. I will say PQR, ABC, PQR, Telusko, and XYZ. Of course, if you give this option, Telusko is best, right? Okay. I don't want any other competition in the channel, right? So I'm clicking on submit. Oh, we got an error, but then that error doesn't matter because it is not able to find the print question JSP. That's not the main concern. The main concern is, have you got your data in a database? Let's go back, and if I refresh, okay, you can see we have not got that question. Why? Because we have not completed the code yet. The problem is when I say save questions, you can see I'm sending a request to, okay, let me just open my browser. You can see I'm calling save question. So we got my question here. So I got my question here, but then I have to add that question in a database, right? So for that, I will say qdow.save question, and if I pass that object. But then what is qdow? So qdow here is an object of question dow. So what is question dow? So question dow is a dow layer. So normally what you do is whenever you want to create a project, I mean, whenever you want to create a project where you have different, if you have a big task, you have to divide your thing, the request will be sent to the controller. Controller will do lots of things, but then the moment you say you want to do something with database, of course you have to use DAO layers. So all your DAO classes will be a part of DAO layer. Example, for questions we have question DAO, for feedback we have feedback DAO. So I have a question DAO here which will interact with the database, right? Now, what are things we need? So since we are using Hibernate here, so we'll be using Session Factory. Now, Session Factory is used to connect with the database, right? So what I will do is I will create object of Session Factory because it will load all the configuration which you need. So I will say Session Factory, Session Factory. Session Factory, what's that? Session Factory. And then here I will use auto-wired. Okay, that's great. So we got auto-wire, but then the package is not getting imported. Package imported, yes, it is not. Session Factory package imported, yes, done. Now I want to add questions, right? So of course you have to write a code for add questions, but then I don't want to type the code. I already have a code with me. So I will simply copy that code and I will just paste that code here. I don't want to type everything here. So I'll just paste it. So I have a save question which accepts a question. Okay, are we calling save question? Yes, we are calling save question from DAO layer, right? So this is my question controller. If I go back to my question DAO, you can see we have a save question which is taking a question as the parameter. We have to import the package for this. Let's import the package. And I need to import the package for session as well. Let me just do that. And once we got a session object, I'm saying session.save, and we're saving the object, right? But then to make it work, we have to also use one more annotation called as add transactional. This is something with using which you can achieve commit and rollback when you work with database. Okay. Perfect. So we got add transactional there, and everything seems good. So using this, you can actually add questions now. I want to restart the server. It is done. Let's go back and so we have the method, right? So let's enter again. We'll send the same request. I don't want to type the entire question again. Okay, because I'm lazy. But let's see if it is working or not. If I go back to my thing, you can see in this it says inserted question. You can see we got the question, but how do we verify? Let's go back to the PG admin. Let's refresh the server, and you can see we got a question. So the question is best YouTube channel for Java. It is options are ABC, PQR, Telusko, and XYZ. Of course, the answer would be Telusko, right? Okay. If you have just joined this session, do click on the like button so that let me know that if you're enjoying this session. I don't know why I have to ask for the like button there. Okay, so that's perfect. Now what next? We have added the question, right? Now we will try to fetch the questions. Now, how do we fetch a question? Because what I also want is in my question controller, I want to see how many questions we have in a database. Because let's say I want to verify how many questions we have. Or okay, we can do that. We can print all the questions, right? So let's do that. Let's try to print all the questions. Now, of course, if you want to print all the questions, the request would be get questions. So when I say get questions, it will print all the questions, right? So let's do that. Let me just copy this. Okay, I will not type the code again. I already have a code here. Do I have a code? Yes, I have a code here. So I will simply use, do we have a code? Yes. Okay, so I'm copying the code and I'm pasting that code here. Okay, so let's ignore this part for time in. Okay. I don't want to return a question. I want to return a model view object. Okay, and I will create a model view object here because I want to send a response. So I will say model and view. We'll name it as MB, and then I will print new model and view. Okay, now whatever data I'm getting from the, okay, I have to create a view page, right? So I will say this is print, okay, when I call for all the questions, I will say all questions.jsp. So I need to create a page called as all questions.jsp, which will print all the questions here, right? Okay, that's one thing I want to do here. And what else we can do is okay, what we can also do is, let's say I don't want to return a page, because why we have to waste all these pages, right? So we can also return a string. So I can return all the question in a string format, because see, Sometimes you only need data, you don't need a design, right? In fact, I'm not a big fan of design because I don't know designing much. So I always try to print normal data because we have design teams separately, right? So they will work on design. My part will be a Java part. So I will return a string here. Now, point to remember, whenever you return a string, you have to also use an annotation called as response body, because if you are not sending a page, because normally what we do is we always return a page name. I don't want to return a page here. I want to return a data, right? And that's why I will use a string, and we have to use an annotation which is response body. Okay, and then now I got a list here. So I will return the list questions dot to string. I want to convert the list into string so that I can send it back to the client. I'm also printing the questions here itself. Okay, so we got get questions, right? So we got this method called get question, but unfortunately, you can see we don't have questions there, right? We don't have our questions here. We don't have get questions method inside question DAO. So we have to create that method. Now there are multiple ways of creating a method. We can type the method by ourselves, or that's why I love IDE. You know, you can just simply click here and say create method get questions inside question DAO. And can you see that you got your method here? I love IDEs. Okay, now I want to return the questions. Now, how do we return a question? So what I will do is, again, we can type the entire code, or I will copy paste the code. So I need a session object. Let's do that. Let's paste session object. Okay, then I want to return a list. But then, okay, how do I return a list? Now to return so we have to fetch data from database, right? Okay, before going ahead, I want to know from everyone, are you getting what I'm doing here in the live session? See, I'm not expecting that you will understand everything, but at least you're getting the flow, right? To do something, we need something, and at least the flow you're getting. Everyone, you can use the chat window to answer this. Okay. Okay, so Karthik says yes, he can understand. What about others? Okay, okay, so I will still continue. I don't have a choice, even if I don't understand this. Okay, so what I will do here is I got a question, right? So now I want to fetch questions from database. Now, if you know Hibernate, then we have to use a concept. Okay, so we'll be using Hibernate, right? So I'll be using SQL to fetch the data. Now we have done this. We have done the same thing for feedback. If you remember, in the feedback itself, when you say get feedbacks, we have used a query, right? Which is Hibernate query. We'll use the same thing here. So I will create a query object. I will say query queue equal to, and I will say session dot. I will say create query. And then in this, you have to mention the query. So the query is from questions. I want to fetch all the questions, right? So I would say from questions. Now this will give me list of questions. Okay, we have to import the package for query, and it is from hibernate.query.query, which will work with questions. That's perfect. And I guess we have to also mention the class here also, whatever class you're working with. So we can see we'll be having some, okay, we have a query. So we have to first mention the query. So from questions, okay, Q should be capital because we are using Hibernate. And then here we have to mention the class name as well so that it will understand what type of query you're firing. So I will say question.class. We don't have typecast then, right? Okay, so once you got the query here, now what next? So the next thing we need here is a list of values, because if you fire this query, you will get a list of questions, right? So I will say list of questions. We got a list of questions. I will say this is questions equal to, and I will use a query queue dot list. So we have a method called as list, which will give you the entire list of questions. And what we have to do is we have to just return those questions and done. So this method will be helpful to interact with database, right? But then again, we have to use an annotation here, which is at transactional. So this is the annotation we have to use at transactional. Okay, so whenever you call this method get questions, it will give you a list of questions, right? And you will be calling this method from your question controller. So you can see we got get questions here, right? And if you're returning, you're fetching the questions from this. In fact, I can simply write this here itself, so that will not waste the number of lines. Why to create a list object separately when you can get the object when you call get questions? So I'm calling that get question, I'm printing those get question, I'm also returning that get questions. I just hope it will work. Let's run this, let's see if it is working or not. So I will use a page, okay, I will go back here and I will say get questions.htm. If I say enter, okay, I'm hoping for the output here. And yeah, can you see that we got all the questions? Now we got these questions in array format or list format. Normally, if you want to show the same data on a page, of course, you have to return a JSON. You have to return a JSON, right? Again, how to convert this into JSON? That's a different thing. But then at least we got the questions, right? We got all the questions from the database. So if I add a new question now, so let me just copy this link. And we'll go back here and we'll paste it here. And you can see if I add a new question now, so it's a question.htm, and I will ask the question, we'll say question ID 12, and we'll say the question as my favorite actor. Okay, so my favorite actor, answer would be, okay, this doesn't look like a Java question, right? My favorite technology, that makes sense. Okay, so I will say my favorite technology is Java, my favorite technology is AWS, my favorite technology is .NET, and you know the answer that is it is not .NET. And okay, so next I will say Android. Okay, and I will say the answer is Java, of course, right? And that's why we are making Java project. And if I click on submit, you can see it says submitted, but then this page is not created yet. Let's go back and if I say get questions, you can see we got a new question here. So that means it is working. So when you add a question, you can also fetch the question. But we don't want a question in this format here. We want a question in a JSON format. So I want you people. So I want you people to try it first. Again, this once we complete this session, we will deploy this project on GitHub, fork the project, and do some changes and make sure you return a JSON. Okay. Okay. So we got get questions, right? Now what we want is, let's say you want to give a test. So what I want is, okay, we got Vikas here, and he says I can understand what is going on. Okay, welcome Vikas. So again, if you are new to this type of session, if you are new to this live coding which we are doing here, what you have to do is, okay, what you have to do is, before the next session, what I will recommend you is to go to my channel. Okay, go to my channel and search for, okay, first of all, you have to go to Telusko. We already have a Telusko here. And if you can go to playlist, okay, you can see I have created a playlist called as Java Web Development. So go to this playlist and watch this playlist first. So these are all recorded session with a good quality. You will understand what is going on in this live session, so that you can next time you can actually continue. So again, after this session, you'll be having the session 5 as well. Okay. Okay, we got a question from Karthik. Do we use JSON or Jackson? So I would recommend you to go for Jackson because we are working with Spring Framework and they have a good compatibility. But then in case if Jackson is not working, you can also go for JSON. That's okay. In fact, my old project is used, I mean, it is using JSON. So the project which is already deployed now on the server, it is using JSON. But I'm planning to go for Jackson this time. I mean, there was no need of redesigning this website, but then I thought I want to teach programming as well. I wanted to teach you how to make a project. That's why we are redesigning it. But then, okay, so let's use Jackson now. Okay, so let's get back here. So what I want now is if I go to my page and if I request for test. So if I call test.htm, what will happen now? The moment I call for test.htm, it should return only 5 questions because get questions will return all the questions, right? So get questions will return all the questions. I don't want all the questions, I just want 5 questions, and those 5 questions should be random questions. Now, how can you get a random question? Okay, that's a tricky part here. So first of all, let's try to understand if you have so many questions, and that's what we do in the actual project, okay? We don't directly write a code. First of all, I want a query to know what are the questions you have to fire. What should be the query? What should be the query using which you will get only 5 questions? Okay, so let's try a query there. So what I will do is I will open my query tool and I will say view, not view data, but I want a query tool. And in this query tool, what I will do is I will say, select star from questions. So if I select star from question, of course you will get the entire table, right? You can see in the output window. Okay, you can see we got the entire table. I don't want the entire table here. So we don't want the entire table. So what I want here is I want to have only the only 5 questions. So what we can do is how can you mention only 5 questions? So we can say order by QID. So this is one way, and order by QID, and we can set a limit of 5. Let's see if it's working. I don't know. I got this concept. You can see we got 5 questions. That's perfect. We got 5 questions. But the problem is we are getting first 5 questions. I don't want first 5 questions. I want random 5 questions. So we want random 5 questions. If you can see that beep sound, that is just a bomb in my office. You know, it always beeps. It's my AC which is not working properly. Okay, so how do we get a random question? So we have a query which is order by random. So we got a function in Postgres. Now, if you are using MySQL, the function name is rand. But then if you are using Postgres, the function is random. So if I fire this query now, you can see we got random question this time. This is not the first 5 or first 4 questions. This is random 5 questions, right? So this is the query using which you will get random 5 questions. Again, you can do this with Java as well, but then if you can do that in SQL, what's bad in that, right? So if every time I run this query, you can see we're getting random 5 questions. Simple. And that's why your SQL, you should also have SQL knowledge. So if you don't have SQL knowledge, this you will find difficult when you make a project. So point to remember, you need to learn the language, you need to learn the software engineering skills, you need to learn about databases, you need to learn about SQL, and that's what will make you a good programmer. Okay, knowing everything in Java will not make you a good programmer, right? You just have to learn the different things as well. Okay, so we got these random questions here. So now what next? We'll fire this query using, okay, so let's go back to the code. What I want here is I want to create a method. We'll say public string. I will say test. The method name will be test. Again, it's not compulsory to use test method. We can use any method name. So this method needs to be called when you request for, so we'll say request mapping for test.htm. So whenever I use a call for test.htm, we will return test questions. Okay. Okay, so we got these questions. Now, how do we fetch a question? So of course, we will be doing the same thing, right? We will fetch list of questions and we will print those questions, we will return those questions. Let's copy this and let's paste it here. The only thing which will change is, instead of fetching get questions, I will say get test questions, because we don't want all the questions here. We want only those questions which is test questions. Only 5 questions, right? And you can see we don't have that method in my question DAO. So what I will do here is I will click on this and I will say create a method called as get test question. So I got this method. In fact, maximum time we always do copy and pasting, right? That's how software development is. In fact, there are lots of codes available on Google. If you want to do something, just go to Google and search for the code. Code is available. So what makes you a good programmer is, and anyone can copy the code and paste the code, right? The difficult part is from where to copy and from where to where to paste. That is, those two things are important here, right? Okay. If you just joined the session, make sure you like the video so that I will know that you are new to this code. Okay. Perfecto. So, okay, so we have to use some annotations here. So the first annotation we have to use is @transactional. So we got this annotation. Then we have to get object of session factory. We need this. We need a query as well. Okay, we'll do that query later. So we got the session object. Will also return the list. The problem here is we will return the list. That's not the issue, right? The problem here is when you want to fetch a question by firing this query. If you can see the query we have written here, this is my query. The problem is till this point we were using Hibernate queries, right? We were using HQL. So if you can see in my code, I'm just returning from question. This is not a SQL query. This is a HQL query. So this is not SQL. It is HQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and HQL stands for Hibernate Query Language. So in Hibernate, we don't specify select. Okay, we use select only when you want to go for selected columns. But now for 5 questions, I want to use SQL query, right? Because I don't know what will be the HQL for the random function. So what can be done now? So can we use SQL query in Hibernate? And yes, it is possible. We can do that with the help of native queries. So we can say native query. And we'll mention the native query with the help of questions. Okay, so in the native query, so the way in Hibernate we use queries so for when you want to use HQL, we use query. When you want to use SQL, we use native queries. Okay, we got a question from Pranay. Yes, Pranay, all the videos are available on YouTube channel. So in fact, I have uploaded a good quality videos there. So if you just go to channel and search for this playlist called as Java Web Development. So go to Telusko Learning and search for Java Web Development. You will see those last 4 sessions, the actual practical session. Okay, so when we use SQL, we use native queries. Now in this native query, I will use a query equal to. Okay, first of all, we have to import the package, I guess. So we'll say control space, and okay, that's the package. Done with the package. Now I want to fire the query. So how do you fire a query? So we'll say session dot. So the how to create a SQL query. So for normal query, we use say create query, and for native query, we have to say create native query. So we'll say create native query, and we'll fire the query here. So the query here is select star from question order by random, and okay, that is random, and we'll say limit to 5. We will get only 5 questions here. Okay, now how do you fire a native query? Because it is easy to fire a SQL query, right? You can simply say q.list. What here? So if I say q.list, oh, we have to also specify the type of values, right? So I will give a comma. I will say the data I'm expecting is in a question format. So I will say question.class. And here I will say list, q.list. I hope not q.list, it should be query.list because I've created the object as query. Now this list, if I go to this list, it will return me the list of values. So that's perfect. I can use a list of values there. So I will say this will return me a list of questions the same way we have done before. So it will return me a list of questions. I just have to return that list in this format, right? So it's return questions. That sounds good. We will be getting only 5 questions this time when you fire this query. Okay, so let's go back in the question controller. Everything seems good. It should work now, right? So when I call for test.html, this should work. Okay, I have not restarted the server. Okay. Right click, run as run on server. Okay, by the time we got a question from Sanjay. Sanjay, we do this at 5 p.m. In weekdays. So the next session would be on maybe Monday or Tuesday. I will try to take, see, in fact, I will try to take the session tomorrow as well. But let's see how it goes because weekends are a bit hectic for me. Let's see if I get a time for tomorrow as well. I will update you 2 or 3 hours before the session. So just stay updated on the channel. So and try to join a Facebook group. So we already have a Facebook group on Facebook called as Telusko Live Project. Try to be a member of that project, a member of that group. You will get the updates. And the timing is 5 p.m. IST. So if you're living in a different time zone, so just convert your time zone into IST. Okay, so I will say, okay, okay, I will say test.htm now. So if I say test.htm, hope to get the questions, hope to get the 5 questions. Come on, give me 5 questions. Oh, okay. It's not returning my page. Oh, we forgot to mention the response body, right? So response body. Because if you don't mention response body, it will search for the page. So you can see if I don't mention response body, it is searching for a page called as whatever data you return, it is searching for that page. I don't want to do that. Okay. Oh, that's great. People are watching from UK as well. Okay, so we got one. Where are you, Karthik? Where are you from? I guess you are from Australia. Come on. I hope I'm guessing it right. Sanjay is from UK. So I'm running this code, and can you see that we got 5 questions? Is it 5 questions? Let me just verify. So we got question ID 1, then we got question ID 4, then we got question ID 9. So we got 3 questions. We got 4th question, and we got 5th question. Yes, we got 5 questions, and these questions are coming in random. Okay, from Karthik is from New Zealand. Oh, that's great. Awesome place to live. Faiz says I'm from Delhi. That's great, Faiz. At least we're in the same time zone. Okay, can you see that every time I call this page, it is giving me a different values. So that means if you make a test system now, every time you will get a different values, right? So this is what we wanted. Okay, and Venkatesh, you are from Singapore. That's great. Okay, we got a question from Ritankar Paul. This is Java. Yes, this code looks like Java. Okay, but this is not a normal code Java. This is Spring Framework. So if you see something new, you will. So this is Spring Framework. Okay, Ritankar says he's from Earth. Oh, that's great. Okay. Okay, and Pranay, I can guess that from your name, Pranay. Yeah. So that's great. Okay. No one from Mars here. Anyway, we all are aliens, right? So. Okay. So, okay. So we got the test module, right? So we got the questions. We got 5 questions. Now, what's the next thing? Now, let's say we got these 5 questions. Okay. What next we have to do is we got this 5 question. Okay, and now if I let's say if I submit the answers now, so now the format in which I will submit the answers is in a JSON format, right? So that JSON format will have a question ID. Example, you can see I'm also printing the answer as well. We don't want to do that. You can see we are getting answers as well. We got the answer as pure Java language. We don't want to print answers. Can we skip that? Can we skip the answer? Yes, we can do that. If I go to my questions.jsp, in the toString method, if I remove the answer part, I will not get the answer, right? We will not get the answer on the page. Okay, the point here is, if I submit the answers, the submit answer would be, so when you submit, you have to submit the question ID and the answer so that I can verify that on the server. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay, so once you say question submit, then I mean once you say question ID and answer, then the question will be verified on the server. But then how to do that? How can you verify it on a server? Again, that we'll be discussing in the next session. Okay, so once the session gets over, I will upload this project on GitHub. Just fetch the project, do some changes, and if you can just help me with the design, can you just help me with the coding part as well? If you think we have a better way of fetching the questions, if we have a better way of adding the questions, then just let me know. I will be very happy to make those changes. Okay, and if you have if you're working for a company and if you think that you are, in your company, if you are using something new, if you want to share this with other people, that's the whole idea here, right? We want to share, whatever. See, the problem here is in industry and in colleges, we have two different syllabus, right? In colleges, we have a very old syllabus. In industry, we are using new technologies. So the idea of this live session is just to merge that gap of colleges and industry. So if you are working for a company and if you think you are using something new, just let us know. We'll try to embed that in our project as well. And okay, and also, and if you want to suggest, you can send a mail on Telusko Live Project, teluskoliveproject@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to listen to your feedbacks. So yeah, that's it from this session. I hope you're liking this session. Do click on the like button and do share the video with your friends. And if you're not a subscriber, of course, you're all a subscriber, right? That's why you're watching this video. So let me just grow. Let me help me with growing this channel. So let me stop the recording here, and we'll go for some questions. Till we have 5 minutes, so we'll go for some questions here. Let me hide my screen. Okay, so we got a point from Karthik. One more session, use Ajax. So again, Karthik, I'm not good with design, so if you can help me with this. So if you can design a page in such a way that it will send a Ajax request on the server, I would love to do that. Okay, Faiz says, what is service and repository? So normally, whenever you make whenever you make a DAO layer, so inside the DAO layer we use @ component, right? So let me share my screen once again. Okay. So where is that? Share the project. Okay, so on the DAO layer, what we are using here is, where is the DAO layer? Where is the question? It is here itself. So you can see I'm using @ component, right? So instead of using @ component, we should be using a repository. So whenever you interact with a database, whenever you work with any service, we use @repository. Now again, @repository and @component are almost same. It's just that they have a different life cycle, right? So for database, we should always use repository. Sometime for the controller. See, for controllers, we use @ controller, right? We can also, so it is also a component. It is working the same way as component. The difference is controller can take request. Repository is used for databases. If you have something like service class, let's say if you have a class which will do some processing, we will use @ service on that. We can also use @ component, but then to make it much better, we can also use @ service. Okay. Now, we got a question from Pranay. How can we get this code from GitHub? So once I upload this project on GitHub, what you can do is uh, be a part of the project, be a part of the Facebook group, because in Facebook group, I'll be sharing the link. I don't know if you're part of the Facebook group. So go to Facebook and search for Telusko Live project. And that's how we do it. Okay, Telusko Live project and join the group. Okay, we got a question from Ritenkar. Is Prolog worth to learn? I don't have much idea on Prolog, so I can't say anything about that. But then learning something is always a worth, right? It's depend upon how much you want to get depth into that. Okay, so if you want to get more updates, just be a part of the Facebook group. Also like the page on my Facebook. So where you will find that page. So if you go to Facebook, I just hope when I go to Facebook, it will not show some weird thing. It is very difficult, you know. It's actually very risky to share the Facebook profile on live. But then that's fine, you know. Okay, if I go to just search for Telusko learnings. Okay, this is the page. Okay, so like this page to get the updates. So you will be getting all the updates on this page. Part of the Facebook group. Okay, we got the next question, which is which one is good, Hibernate or Spring? Both, right? Because for database we use Hibernate, and for Flow we use Spring. So both are good. Both are important. Okay, what is Telusko? Okay, Telusko you can take in two ways. You can divide this one into two words, tel and usko. Okay, this is of course this in Hindi it means say, I mean share it. Yes, tel usko means share it, right? Ha usko bata, something like that. Okay, and it's actually a Telugu word. If you want to go for the actual origin of it, it's a Telugu word which means get to know. Yeah, which also means know it. So Karthik, you're Telugu. I was not knowing that. That's great. So the origin of this word is from Telugu. Since I'm a South Indian, I'm a Telugu, so I don't understand much of Telugu, but then some of that, which is one of the word is Telusko. And normally what people do is they take Greek terms, because using English term for a website is actually not that good, because it will not make your what do you say, the search engine will not make it that good. So people use Greek terms and all those things. So I thought, why to go for a foreign language when you can go for Indian languages? So I'm going for Telugu language, which is Telusko. It's unique. Okay. So next question, Suzanne, which is easy and useful? I mean both are easy. Okay, if you can watch my videos, both are easy actually, because I have broken it down. So I would suggest you to go for Hibernate first and then go for Spring. Okay, Venkat says, oh, Karthik, you're Tamil, that's great. Venkatesh says, which web service is good? REST is best. REST is best. That's a rhyming thing. That's great. Okay, so that's it. Then we are end of the timing. Okay, so that's it from this session. If you liked this session, do click on the like button and do share this with your friends. I'm hoping that you will share this video link on your Facebook profile. Okay, Faiz, we'll think about that. I'm not that good with unstructured data, but we'll try. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next session. I will update you on the Facebook group or on my page. Time up.